Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Shri Radha Vino Bihari Mandir in Shri Gopinath Bhavan, Vrindavan. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupal Guru Varga ki jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki जय राधारमण जी की जय, गिरिराज महाराज की जय, हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि। So we're going to begin with Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan is on page 1 of this book, Sri Gauriya Giti Guccha. Starting with Vandeham, Vandeham, Vandeham. Glitchy. Yeah. Should we put it back on Radharaman? It's very strange.
Yeah, look at it. Like when you're moving it, it's
I can't see anything. Maybe they sold me a defective phone that had already been used and dropped. I'll have to ask him. It should be. I'm just going to check and see if I can see them. Try to work with it as I can. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakam Shri Guru Vaisnava Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagano Raghunatham Sajivam Sadetam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sabhagano Lalita Shri Vishadikam Om Jnanam Yadavakaya Chakshurunyitam Deno Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Vishnaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Nityanamine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sulaksham Kolariyamadu Yamunaishcha Yuktam Vanvarindam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shirashandamani श्रीनन्दिनं भक्तशिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपादाब्जैकहृदि नमोपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी आष्टादशरारि नमो विष्णुपादाय गौरवेशाय श्रीमद् प्रज्ञानकेशवोऽनित्यनामिने अतिमर्दचरित्राय श्वश्रितानञ्चपालिने जीवदुःखे सदर्ताय श्रीराम प्रेमदायिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभारती देवी गणिताय त्रिभये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञानो गणिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपारूपभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविरुधापो सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्बोधे पदं पूजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगन्धरायते गौराविर्भावभूमिस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रिय वैष्णव सर्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतो पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदम्बोज राधावदनमोहन दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमाद श्रीमद्रङ्गागारसिंहासनस्थो श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो ज्येष्ठानिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीन्द्रसरसारम्भिः वंशिवत्ततस्थितः कर्षन्वेणुस्वरैर्गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तुनः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहानामं निर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुविवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम् हरेर्नाम हरेर्नाम हरेर्नामेव केवलं कलो नस्त्येव 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 गतिरन्यथा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे We'll put it back on to
sound is breaking up and breaking up. Then they said double speed at times. And, now they wrote it seems okay.
Because nothing's going on right now. Has Radhan been okay today? I'll try. I'll switch it and hopefully it will still be okay. 1 second.
The last comment did say it's okay now.
Yeah, but still, sorry. How's that? Is it better now? Hare Krishna. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 5. Jai. Hopefully it works. Ready, Sudevi? Jai Jai Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru. That's on page 29, starting with Jaya Jaya, Jaya Jaya. For anyone who wonders what this is, it's called Yogi Kantika. Amazing for singing. Jaya Shri Vrindavan Sakala Vaishnava Gosai, page 46. Sakala, S-A-K-A-L-A. Sakala Vaishnava Gosai, Doya Korore, Dante Trino Dhoti Gohe, Edino Pamore. Sakala Vaishnava Gosai, Doya Korore, Dante Trino Dhoti Gohe, Edino Pamore. Shri Guru Charanaya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Guru Charanaya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Pada Padma Pavaya, Ore Gopavanya. Pada Padma Pavaya, Ore Gopavanya. Oma Savara Karuna Vine, Iha Praptina, Visheshya Jogya Gohilo Vishra Toma Savar Karuna Vine Iha Praptina Visheshya Jogya Gohilo Vishra Panchakalpataruha Karuna Sagara Panchakalpataruha Radhe Krishna Dhoni Dhohe Edina Amare Vaishnava Goshai Jai Vaishnava Goshai 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 Prabhu Kripa Karo More Daya Karo Kripa Karo More Daya Karo Prabhu Kripa Karo More Daya Karo Kripa Karo More Daya निताय पद कमला कोटि चंद्र सुशीतला पति पावन श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। Bhaktivedanta Nitai Pado Pasha Sake Kala Bodhamudara. Starting with S-A-K-H-E, page 340. 340. श्रीमंगल गीतम श्रितकमला कुचमंडल धृतकुंडल है कलित ललित बनमाला जय जय देव हरे पेज 352 It's called Sri Mangala Geetam. It starts with Srita, S-R-I-T-A. Today's a little bit cooler than yesterday. Yesterday was 45, 46. Today's about 43. So. So it's going to be all fast. If you see in the songbook, I don't know if Jiva Pavana Prabhu has posted. Has he posted? There's a little bit there, it says the refrain, just in case it's not in the bhajan, is Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopala Nanda Dulala Yashoda Dulala Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. So, Radhe Krishna. Jaya Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopala Nanda Dulala Jashoda Dulala Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopala Nanda Dulala Jaya Jashoda Dulala Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Shrita Kamala Kucha Mandala Drita Kundalore. Shrita Kamala Kucha Mandala Drita Kundalore. Kalikala Dikavana Kalikala Dikavana Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Kalikala Dikavana Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. 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 Dina Mandi Mandala Mandala Bhavakandalane. Dina Mandi Mandala Mandala Bhavakandalane. Munijana Manasaham Sa Munijana Manasaham Sa Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Munijana Manasaham Sa Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Jaya Jaya Deva Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Aliya Vishadhara Ganjano Janaranjano He, Aliya Vishadhara Ganjano Janaranjano He, Yadukulanamina Dinesha, Yadukulanamina Dinesha, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Yadukulanamina Dinesha, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, 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 Madhuranarakamvinashana Garudasana He, Madhuranarakamvinashana Garudasana He, Surakula Surakula Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Surakula Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, 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 Amala Kamala Dala Lochana Bhavamochana He, Amala Kamala Dala Lochana Bhavamochana He, Tribhuvana Bhavana Nidhano, Tribhuvana Bhavana Nidhano, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Tribhuvana Bhavana Nidhano, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, 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 Janakasuta Krita Doshano Jita Doshano He, Janakasuta Krita Doshano Jita Doshano He, Samarashamita Dashakanta, Samarashamita Dashakanta, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Samarashamita Dashakanta, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Jaya Jaya Deva Hare, Jaya Jaya Devo Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Nando Dulal Jai Yashoda Dulal Jaya Jaya Devo Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Nando Dulal Jaya Yashoda Dulal Jaya Jaya Devo Hare Tava Charane Pranatamayo Iti Bhavayo Tava Charane Pranatamayo Iti Bhavayo Guru Kushalam Pranateshu Guru Kushalam Pranateshu Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Guru Kushalam Pranateshu Jaya Jaya Deva Hare 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 Shri Jaya Deva Kavero Gurudevadam Shri Jaya Deva Kavero Gurudevadam Mangalam Ujjvala Geetam Mangalam Ujjvala Geetam Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Mangalam Ujjvala Geetam Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Nando Dulal Jaya Yashoda Dulal Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Nando Dulal Jaya Yashoda Dulal Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Krishna He 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 Shri Krishna Kade Lal Ki Jai Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Page 341, Radhe, R-A-D-H-E. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Gokuladharuni Mandalamohite. Gokuladharuni Mandalamohite. Jaya Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Radhe Damodara Radhe Paradharo Veshe Hari Vishnu Vrindavani Pireshe Damodara Radhe Paradharo Veshe Hari Vishnu Vrindavani Pireshe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Rishabhandari Navashashile Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Rishabhandari Navashashile Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Radhe Karuna Gurumani Karuna Bharite. Sanatan Sanatan Varnita Jayate. Karuna Gurumani Karuna Bharite. Sanatan Sanatan Varnita Jayate. Jaya Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Madhava Jayate. Gokuladharuni Mandalamahite. Gokuladharuni Mandalamahite. Radhe Jayo Jayo Madhava check your window. Okay, I'll speak a little something. There may be a dust storm. The weather is starting to change. Tomorrow's temperature will drop, and then Saturday and Sunday are supposed to rain. So it appears that there will be a lot of dust storms coming soon. So in this bhajan, many of you may have heard, and I've told this a long time before, many of you may have heard different devotees at the end singing Shri Rupa Sanatan Varnita Charite. Raise your hand if you've heard this before. I can't see anything. One time, we were in Sri Keshavji Gauriya Math in Mathura with our Srila Gurudev. This was early on, maybe 1998. And one of his brahmacharis sang this. After singing Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite, he sang Shri Rupa Sanatana Varnita Charite. Although this is written by Shri Rupa Goswami, and although there's technically nothing wrong with saying Shri Rupa Sanatana Varnita Charite, Srila Gurudev became quite visibly disturbed that brahmachari would change the words of Rupa Goswami, or that he could even add something. And Gurudev himself spoke, do you think you know more than Rupa Goswami that you can add to, improve upon, or change the bhajan which he wrote? Do you understand the deep meaning of why he wrote what he wrote? You should not add or change anything in the words of our Rupanuga Guru Varga, especially Rupa Goswami. So Gurudev was quite strong with it. So from that time, although I thought the sound was quite sweet, Shri Rupa Sanatana Varnita Charite, but because Gurudev chastised him so strongly at that time, from that time I stopped chanting that. Because actually, if you think about it, we are aspiring for the dust of the lotus feet of those persons who are following Rupa Goswami. We are aspiring for the dust of the lotus feet of those persons who are following Rupa Goswami. What kind of audacity is it for us to think that we can improve upon the words of Rupa Goswami? So at that time, Srila Gurudev explained, why did Rupa Goswami add this Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite? And he mentioned that Sanaka Sanatan represents the four Kumaras, Chatushan. These four Kumaras are so powerful, they are so strong, that they were able to maintain their forms as 5-year-old boys eternally, so that lust would not affect them. Almost everyone in this entire creation is affected by lust, but they're so powerful that they were able to maintain themselves as 5-year-old boys so that lust would not touch them. And here it says, Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. It means Sanaka, Sanatan, and others, and so forth, are always glorifying Srimati Radhika and her chastity to Krishna. How great is Srimati Radhika? Like in Shri Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraja, the very beginning words, Munindra Vrinda Vandite Triloka Shokaharini. Munindra Vrinda Vandite. Muni Indra, the topmost of all munis and rishis, are always offering prayers to her. And then it says near the end, Anantakoti Vishnu Loka Namra Padmaja Chide Himadrija Pulomaja Virinchaja Varaprade Apar Siddhi Dhidik Dasat Padangulunike Kada Karishyasi Havam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Aneka Mantranada Manju Nupura. Oh, that's another one. So this one, Anantakoti Vishnu Loka. In millions of Vishnu Lokas, her name is being glorified by all transcendental and divine personalities. And there it says, Himadrija, Pulomaja, Virinchija, Varaprade. So this is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all are glorifying. I said Vishnu? Yes, Vishnu. Krishna himself. Radhika Premer Guru Ami Shishnata. Krishna is saying, Radhika is my Guru of Prema and I am simply her dancing pupil. Sometimes he walks around Vrindavan banging on a drum, making public announcement. Srimati Radhika is the queen of Vrindavan and I am her servant. This is the speciality of Vrindavan. So all are glorifying her. So Srila Gurudev made this point. Also, I remember we were in Barshana, maybe in the year 1999, early 2000s. And one of the local Barshana Pandit, Brajvasis, came, and he was very expert with poetry. And the poetry he was using was quite amazing and impressive. Like how Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj has done Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. That the last word, the very first letter of the last word, is the first letter of the next sentence. So Sujanar Budaradi Tapada Jugam Yuga Dharma Durandara Patra Padam Barada Vayadaya Kapujya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. A very beautiful Sanskrit poetry. Or as we have seen with Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraja, how beautiful the poetry, that the poetry itself is such that when it is speaking about Krishna's mind being bamboozled by Srimati Radhika, it's actually an entire tongue twister. Mrinala valla vallari taranga ranga dollate latagra lasyalo lanila lochana valokane lalal lulan milan malogya mukdamo mohanashrate kadakrishyasi hamam kripakataksha bhajanam. It's beautiful tongue twister. So anyhow, this person came and he was offering this beautiful poetic rendition, glorification of Srimati Radhika in Barshana during Kartik Parikrama. And then he started glorifying Radhika as mother. Now, of course, in Shastra it is said she is Jagan Mata, the mother of the entire universe. And also here it says Karunam Kuru Mai. It really means who is bestowing Mai, but also the mother of devotion. However, the way he was saying she is our mother. And our Gurudev questioned him. He actually didn't question him, he corrected him. He said everything you did was so nice and perfect. But are we approaching her that she is our mother? What is our relationship? What do we aspire for? Not that she's our mother. We aspire for Das Yayate Mamarasostu Rasostu Satyam. That I always aspire to be your maid servant. So Gurudev explained, refined at that point, that instead of calling her mother, we should see her like elder sister. Because in the relationships, especially in Vedic culture, there's appropriate relationships. So Gurudev explained that although she is, like even Srila Prabhupada would say, Mother Hara, this represents the mother of bhakti, the mother of devotion. But in terms of how our final aspiration is and our goal is to see her and to relate to her, she will be like big sister. So this was some refinement that Srila Gurudev gave that I wanted to share with you. One, we should not change the words of our acharyas or think that we can one-up them to do better than them in their own offerings to, in this case, Srila Rupa Goswami or Rupa Manjari's offering to Srimati Radhika. We cannot do better than him. And two, that in our ultimate goal, we are not aspiring to see her as our mother. Just like here in Vrindavan, a lot of people go in front of Sri Radharaman and they're like, oh, my baby boy, like this, because he's little. But Radharaman is not baby Gopal. He might be, if that is someone's Ishtadev, then they will see him as such. But who is Radharaman? Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, when he went in front of Radharaman, he said, I see in Radharaman 3 Gaudiya Thakurs, Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinath. All 3 within the form of Sri Radharaman. So he is Radha's Raman, who is giving pleasure to Srimati Radhika. Or also, Srimati Radhika is giving pleasure to him, Radharaman. Both. So he is not a little baby boy, he is Krishna, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Govinda. He's standing holding a flute in his Shyamam Tribhanga Lalitam, beautiful threefold bending form, which is meant for attracting the gopis. especially Srimati Radhika. So, Srila Gurudev encouraged us to apply the appropriate moods in the appropriate situations. In this case, how to approach what kind of mood we should see Srimati Radhika in. So he gave that instruction in Varshana at that time. So I wanted to share it with you. Now that we have spoken about Srimati Radhika and Srila Gurudev's, some of his secret, it was actually public. He was publicly giving the adjustment not only for him but for all of our clarification. Now we will pray to Srila Prabhu in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Is the connection still okay? Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamham Vande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times unto the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishna Vishnupad astottara Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same thousands of Dandava Pranam unto the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishna Vishnupad astottara Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Also to our entire Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga, and my Dandava Pranam to all Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, including all of those who are with us today. My Dandava Pranam.
Dandava Pranams.
Oh, Sudevi, can you get me the iPad? Thank you. So yesterday, some questions were asked.
Some devotees were saying that it was going double speed at times.
But that was in the beginning then,
Okay.
before we changed it back to Radharama.
Okay. Sorry, I was asleep.
So some very important questions were asked yesterday, and I'm just trying to find them here.
Humility.
Yes, the subject that I need to contemplate the most. So I really appreciate that you've asked those questions. There we are, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So, were those questions near the end of the Sudevi? Or Subi, do you know?
Susan, I forgot her initiated name. She was saying that through humility she's been treated quite badly, and it's made her scared in a way to I guess people have taken advantage of that.
Okay.
And so to really discuss what is humility and how to be humble and who to be humble to and how to have that kind of trust for humility.
For some reason the questions aren't showing up on that. If you can find the other questions for me while I'm speaking about that, I would appreciate it. So humility is a subject that all aspiring Vaishnavas need to contemplate, and it is also a subject which all true Vaishnavas are actually practicing. Generally, when we hear about humility, or we see it, especially in Vaishnava circles, there's a kind of a semblance of false humility that's practiced, where you see someone and then you have a fight to see who can touch each other's feet, or I'm the most fallen, I'm the most lowly, and you kind of do that no, I'm too humble, Prabhu thing. But this is not necessarily real humility. So,
You asked for the actual question, I have it.
yes, please ask it.
So it says, I've been afraid to show humility because I've experienced emotional abuse from devotees. I didn't know how to recognize it at first, so I went away. I realized that there are devotees that do not do this. Still, I feel a little hesitation. So how can we take care of ourselves and be truly humble? And Raghava Pandit and also Jiva Pavana added some nice things there, but we're happy to hear this subject.
Okay. Thank you. Also, there are some devotees who are not very adept at practicing humility, and that is because they have not properly associated with those who are truly humble. And also, sometimes, in the process of being around other devotees, we find that because we might all still have anarthas, those anarthas manifest and rub us the wrong way. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada explained that his Gaudiya Mat, means the house where devotees live, is like a big sack with so many stones inside that have very sharp edges. And as everyone's remaining within that, under the guidance of Sri Guru, the spiritual master, then as those sharp edges rub against one another, as these stones are banging against one another, gradually those sharp edges are removed and softened. And after some time, through the process of rolling, if you've ever seen rolled stones, maybe gemstones, but they have sharp edges, but if you roll them long enough, then they come out very, very smooth, shiny, polished, and beautiful. So, this is also part of our process. To be able to tolerate the chastisement and criticism of others. It helps us to become humble. Most of us can willingly take it from Guru because we have consented. Oh Gurudev, I am yours. I require your correction, your chastisement. Even if you hit me, I understand that this is good for me. So thank you, Gurudev, for your mercy. We can apply this kind of mood towards Sri Guru. But when it comes to our Vaishnava peers, it's very different. Someone says something to us, someone does something, someone might be dismissive of us or speak about us behind our backs, or even correct us straight up, and we don't generally like it. It is very painful to our heart. These days, back in the day, maybe according to the etiquettes of society, people would be like, and they would internalize it and go away. These days, it's very difficult to receive it, and we do generally come back quite heavy. Who are you to speak to me? How dare you say anything? How dare you criticize me? And then everyone posts on Facebook, don't criticize, and you know it's just a veiled criticism, right? And they're using Prabhupada and Gurudeva and other Vaishnavas quotes to say, don't criticize, but in the process of telling people not to criticize, they are themselves criticizing the people they're accusing of criticizing. So it ends up being a complete, how do you say, mosh pit of criticism. It's a simple logic. So how do we tolerate these things? It's actually it can be considered a favorable thing. There was one person who always criticized Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, quite heavily actually. He would always say bad things about him. And the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada were very upset with him, always angry, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would just say, let him be, let him be. And one day this person passed away, and the disciples came to Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, oh, this demonic person who's always criticizing you, he's left this world. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada began to weep a little bit. Some tears came to his eyes. And he said, that was my only friend. Everyone else is glorifying me. They're always just telling me all these good things. But he was the only one who was honest with me, who would tell me what he thought. My friend has left me today. So he was seeing that that person who was criticizing him was actually a mirror, showing him the condition of his own heart. It is quite difficult for us, especially coming from the West. Our nature, we are raised with the conception that we should be proud and self-sustaining and that we are righteous. It's just the Western culture. And even in relationship with one's parents, I've seen kids screaming at their parents, I didn't ask you to be brought into this world, deal with it. That kind of thing. In ancient cultures, Asian cultures, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, children see their parents like representatives of the God and they're very respectful. These days it's changing, but back in the day it was different. One time, it was early on, 1996 or 98, in Sri Keshaji Gauriya our Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he said, I have to be so careful with all of you from the West. He said with my brahmacharis, means they had been raised by him, they grew up in the mud. At that time they were, he actually named them. He named them Naveen Brahmachari, Shubhananda Brahmachari, Subal Saka Brahmachari, who now we know as Pujapad Madhav Maharaj, Pujapad Tirth Maharaj, and Pujapad Van Maharaj. He said, even if I beat them bitterly, I know they will never leave me. But I know I have to be so careful with all of you. And he was speaking to us from the West. He said, even if I say something that even slightly pinches you, he said, you will think, oh, I don't like Narayan Maharaj. He said, you will leave me and Bhakti forever. So I have to be so careful, so gentle. So Sometimes it is according to our own upbringing, what we are able to handle. Due to our previous samskars, impressions, and our lack of sukriti, our lack of spiritual merits, that makes us so weak that we cannot handle a little chastisement or correction from Sri Guru, but especially from other Vaishnavas. When Vaishnavas would fight at the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, there was a time when our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, that time he was Vinod Brahmachari. And there was another Brahmachari, Paramananda Brahmachari. So they were having some argument, some discrepancy about something. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada heard. And what did he do? He had them both stand up and speak. 15 minutes each, glorifying the other one. Because it's so easy to see the faults in others. But he had them stand up and see the good thing in each other. So I can't remember what Paramananda Brahmachari said about our Param Gurudev, but our Param Gurudev glorified Paramananda Brahmachari with all of the verses from scripture with this Paramananda. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. So many verses from scripture with this term Paramananda. And he glorified him like this. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would actually engage them in trying to see, and by the time they would hear, oh, you've noticed this in me, you've noticed this in me, then their hearts would already melt. Hearing, oh, you've noticed these nice things, it's not just the negative things. So, when we're coming into the association of Vaishnavas, sometimes, yes, it's very difficult because we see that Guru has the right to correct me, but we have not given our heart enough to accept the chastisement, the correction, the criticism of other Vaishnavas. Srila Gurudev Maharaj warned, and our Guru Varga have also, all the rest of our Guru Varga have warned, but specifically Srila Gurudev Maharaj, he said, when someone asks if we see something wrong, if any of our god brothers or god sisters are doing something wrong, can we say something? Can we do something? He said, what will be the result? If you try to correct them, they will just rebel and it will create a fighting mood. They won't even accept it. And so he made a concession on this point. If you ask them very nicely, I have noticed something, I have so much affection for you, but I've noticed something, will you consent to hear? He said then maybe, if they're willing to hear, you can say something. If they're willing to hear. But otherwise it will create problems. But this question that you asked is specifically relating to being in a Vaishnav association and trying to remain humble in the face of abuse. Unfortunately, all too often, because most who come into Vaishnav, the path of Vaishnavism, are coming from material consciousness and beginning to practice bhakti, we still carry so many mundane impressions, mundane anarthas, so many things which are unfavorable for our progression in bhakti. And when we meet with certain situations, those things manifest naturally. In the same way I told the other day when I was in that car with my mother, when we went right to the edge of the cliff, we were sliding on ice, and at that moment 2 words came out very loud. One was Krishna, and one started with S and ended with T and represented stool. 2 words came out. Why did those words come out? My mother immediately asked me, oh no, what one did you say? And I said, I think I said Krishna. And she began hitting her head, no, no, no. Why? Because the early upbringing creates such great samskars, impressions, that it is difficult to move out of that. My early samskars were always remember Krishna, always say Krishna. When you would get hurt, Krishna, 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 remember Krishna. Any danger, any accident, remember Krishna. Or at least the name of Krishna. So, when we come into a situation where difficulty comes, When I was very young, I said a bad word once. It began with F. My teacher heard and washed my mouth out with soap. Needless to say, I've rarely ever said it since. But sometimes when anger comes inside, I want to use it. But then the impression comes. I've been washed with soap for that. So, these things manifest, they come up when we are in an emotional state. Our sanskars from our previous, not just this life before we came to Vaishnavism, but even our previous lives. How we have dealt with situations. And so when we're coming into the association with Vaishnavas who are beginners, either pre-kanishta or kanishta, then we will find that it is sometimes quite abrasive. And that is the space where we can practice Trinad api sunichena. It's easy to practice it when we're receiving the chastisement from Gurudev, or from senior Vaishnavas, or from Mahaprabhu, or the Goswamis, or even from Krishna. Yes, yes, thank you for your mercy. And then another one, like me, says something. I've noticed this. Why are you doing that? Hey, how dare you? Who are you to speak to me like that? Once there was a devotee who made a problem during parikrama. He was kind of playing a game and riding his motorbike and basically ran the bus off the road with 50 devotees in the bus, and some got pretty hurt. The driver broke his arm and the bus went off into the ditch. So I went to that devotee and I said, I think it would be nice if you would apologize to those devotees because you ran them off the road. And he looked at me with fire in his eyes. Who are you to speak to me? Don't ever talk to me again! Like, really heavy. And I was like, whoa! I was just kind of giving a nice suggestion. He couldn't hear it, and he became so angry at me and cursed at me and yelled at me and said, don't ever talk to me again. So it took about 5 or 6 years before I said, like, Radhe Radhe from a distance. But still, I can feel there was something there. So my suggestion was unsolicited, although it may have been proper. It was unsolicited, and his reaction was probably the reaction you would get for an unsolicited correction from someone. At that time, I would have been considered a little bit junior because I took initiation maybe a year or maybe a few months after him. And also, I'm from the West, so maybe there was the Indian versus West mindset as well. The superiority complex, which is present in a lot of cases. So that's also something to deal with. For example, when we first came to the mutt, we had no idea that if your plate touched your clothes, it's called muchi, or your clothes are muchi or something. We didn't know, and everyone would be like, ah! And we were like, what did I do? And then somebody put their leftover prasadam in a bag inside their bag. And then they would be like, ah! And you're like, what did I do? You put your shoes in the same bag, and then you put your prasadam in the same bags. All of these rules and things, and we would be completely confused. But gradually, being in that situation, being in that association, we began to understand why it's considered inappropriate to touch your plate with your clothes, why it's inappropriate to put prasadam in your bag and shoes in your bag. Certain things like that. Then we learned certain etiquettes through those associations. So, although it is a difficult thing to bear, really it is the plane of practicing humility. Now, it's not the humility where somebody is trying to convince us, especially sometimes you get devotees, and this is a fact, who they'll be like, oh my God, you're so fanatic. Why are you like that? Why don't you just chill out a little bit and Really, people have used this term regarding to me and Sudevi toward our mridanga players who happen to be traveling with us, and we would be doing programs every day, just like this, kirtan, pravachan. And then they would go and hang out with some of their friends, but they wouldn't take the intoxication, and they would be wearing tilak. our mridanga players would be wearing tilak and they would not take the intoxication. They wouldn't be smoking and drinking and doing the things that these other persons would be doing. And they'd be looking at them like, oh my God, you guys have been Sudevi and Kishoriized. As a criticism. And they would also be like, you know, better you don't come to our parties. And so they would be rejected because they were trying to follow what our Gurudeva and Guru Varga have given. So this is a kind of a criticism, maybe from someone that you would see as a devotee, but who is making you feel bad and giving you peer pressure for trying to follow Guru and the process of bhakti. This is not the lesson that we should learn in Vaishnava association. So if someone is trying to actually take us down or away from our practice of bhakti by their association, then this we should not accept. This we should stand up for, and we should give shastric evidence, praman and evidence from Guru and Vaishnava, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, to establish our position. If someone is trying to pull us away from bhakti, this is not the Vaishnava, if they're trying to pull us away from bhakti. But in other situations, it might just be a criticism. Don't touch your plate with your left hand. Don't eat with your left hand. Be careful for this, be careful for that. And then we can try to understand. I was very confused once because there was so many rules and regulations, but then when we went out on parikrama, we were at Sudevi Kund, and there they would put the rotis in our left hand and the sabji on it, and then we would eat the sabji with our right hand, but the roti was in our left hand. And I asked one of the brahmacharis, I don't understand. Just before, we were being criticized for touching anything with our left hand. Now it's in our left hand, completely, and we're taking. I can't reconcile. How do we understand? He said, just go along with it. It wasn't a satisfactory answer for me, but I understood that according to time, place, and circumstance, sometimes we need to adjust. So in that case, we were traveling, we didn't have any plates, prasadam had come, so we had to adjust accordingly. So we should also not just blindly accept, but we should try to be humble enough to accept. For example, today we had a little altercation. An expression of some difficulty with another devotee. And we expressed ourselves privately and personally, and the immediate response was a little bit harsh or heavy, because no one wants to hear any criticism about themselves. But then an hour later, they came back with, I see this as actually a lesson, a very powerful lesson from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. And then, for us, we were seeing, this is Vaishnavata. Maybe I'm making a suggestion, but within a very short time, they came around to this, I see this as a powerful lesson, a surgery given by my gurus. And this is Vaishnavata. And how much does that increase one's honor and affection for that person? To see how they're responding. It's not, how dare you chastise me, may your dynasty die. Not like this. The Vaishnavata comes out, oh, someone has seen this in me. Now I need to assess myself.
What?
She said, I hear Gurudev and Prabhupada instructing me.
I what?
Hear Gurudev
Yes.
and Prabhupada.
So they said, I hear Gurudev and Prabhupada instructing me. And when we heard that, how our hearts melted. We mentioned something, and it could have been terrible, but they took it in a mood of humility and responded as such, and that melted our hearts, and we responded as such, and what was some kind of difficulty, underlying difficulty or discrepancy for some time, has now been brought out into the open. We've expressed our hearts, and now there's so much relief, and even more respect and affection, mutual. So this can also take place if we're endeavoring to practice Vaishnavata, Vaishnava behavior. It depends on the particulars. Because I have not been witness and I have not seen the exact particulars. Sometimes someone is just really nasty. Sometimes there are persons who are just nasty. I'll give you an example of nasty. In the last couple months of our service to Srila Gurudev, we were giving all of our time, our energy, and our attention to making sure that Gurudev was receiving the best care, the best quality supplements, the best quality everything. Every half hour, Sudevi would make a new soup for Gurudev. New, from scratch, fresh, every half hour. For hours every day. And we were trying our best to serve. And one particular person, actually we even stopped some potentially dangerous medicines from coming to him. And some potentially dangerous treatments because some of the doctors didn't understand the complications that he had with diabetes and other situations. So they were trying to give some things that could have actually been very harmful. And we would do research on it, check it, show it to Maharaja, show it to Brajanath, certain things. Here's an example of a certain thing. They wanted to put Gurudev's bed flat. Gurudev wanted his bed flat. But the doctor said, absolutely not, he has a tube in his nose. And everyone was like, but Gurudev is ordering. And the doctor was saying no. So they actually put him like almost flat, and I ran to the doctor and I'm like, please explain to me why we cannot put him flat. He said, because he has the tube in his nose, the acids from his stomach can go into his nose and then into his lungs and can give him pneumonia. So I went with the document, the drawing that the doctor, and I ran to Maharaja, Brajanath, and everyone and showed them, this is why. Then there was an executive order. Do not lay Gurudev flat no matter what, even if he says so. So this is the kind of things that we were doing in the background. Yet, there was someone, actually a couple people, who were especially nasty, who were making kind of accusations. Oh, the white people who are serving Gurudev. Somebody said this. They were making suggestions. Criticism. White people were the ones who tried to poison Prabhupada. And then they were making suggestions like that about us. Someone actually said something like that. And that is especially nasty, especially evil, vicious, and painful to the heart that someone would even suggest such a thing. That is not Vaisnava. That mood is not Vaisnava. It is painful. And when someone is behaving like that, that is when you keep a very far distance from them. Because they're not behaving as a Vaishnava. It's just malicious. I'm giving different examples so we can understand. So someone made that suggestion and they even started telling other people. Whereas in reality, it was exactly the opposite of that. We were trying to look after and protect Gurudev. Of course we would. So, it depends on the situation. If someone is making any criticism to us, which is favorable for the development of our bhakti,
and made out of concern.
And done out of concern also. I have noticed this nature in you may, you might want to look at it. It's not very nice. Then we can do some deep internal research. But if someone is coming out and just being nasty, mean, rude, mundane, or trying to pull you away from bhakti, then we have to be intelligent enough to assess, will this be favorable for the development of my bhakti or not? And sometimes, also, if the chastisement is too much and too heavy for too long, it can also push someone away from bhakti. In which case you can go to them, I don't understand your mood, it's too much, my heart's hurting, I feel like I want to run away. Can you be more gentle? And if they're dismissive of you, then it might not be the favorable thing. So we have to try to use our intelligence enough and to become intelligent enough to distinguish what will become favorable for our bhakti and what is unfavorable. If someone is only ever glorifying us, that's not favorable either. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, the only duty of the sadhu is to stand with the upraised sword and chop the heads, the necks of the sacrificial goats of our anarthas. Those things which are unfavorable within us for the attainment of perfection. How? In the form of harsh language. Now, in current Western culture, based on all psychology and psychiatry and all of this, it's almost a taboo thing. No, you should never yell at anyone, you should never chastise anyone, you should never use harsh language, never scream. But we see again and again that our acharyas are doing such. Look at Srila Govinda Maharaj. Some people can't handle him. But why is he screaming? He's like, oh my God, you are so dense, even the thunderbolts of Indra cannot penetrate you. Even many thunderbolts of Indra cannot penetrate. Wake up! That stupid mind is stopping you from going forward toward Krishna. So sometimes we need that kind of a wake-up call. We might not like it, but sometimes we need it. We need something to turn us from millions of lifetimes of going toward Maya, to turn us toward Krishna. And it might take a lot of energy to do so, and a lot of maybe heaviness, harsh language. Most people do not get the point if everything is just gentle and soft. Then they will take it that way and just kind of move along like that. Sweet, gentle, soft. There's not an urgency. What is our condition? Our condition, from the perspective of the pure Vaishnavas, is like a child running into the freeway with tons of cars driving past at 70 miles an hour. This is our condition. They see us. Gurudev once, he was in, I think it was New Braj in Badger, and all of these cows, they were cows, what they call heifers or beefers, the cows that are meant for going to slaughter. They just roam free and graze on the grass until they're fat enough, and then they're taken away. So Gurudev and the devotees were walking past, and all of those cows, they stopped, they saw Gurudev, and then they ran away. They saw all of the devotees there. And Gurudev said, I'm weeping for those cows, because one day very soon, they will go to the slaughterhouse. And I'm also weeping for all of you, because also one day very soon, you will also go to the slaughterhouse of death. So I'm also weeping for you. So any parent seeing their child running head first, running as fast as they can toward the freeway, toward the highway, they know that this is such a dangerous situation. A child has come into the world in a place of dependence upon their parents. And once someone comes to Sri Guru, they have come to a place where they have offered themselves to Guru, that I am now dependent upon you, like a child. So what does the parent do? Any parent knows. First you scream, right? No, don't do that, don't do that, don't go. You don't go, oh, so come here, it's okay, it's cute. No, you scream. Don't do that. You call their name, you say, come here right now. And if they don't, then you start running after them. And you have to run as fast as you can, because they're just about to enter into the jaws of death. All the while screaming, don't do it, don't do it. And if you need to, you will jump on them and tackle them. Not because you don't like them. And you will chastise them, yell at them at the same time. And they might even get a little hurt in the process. They might sprain their ankle or whatever. And they'll be really upset at you, not realizing that you've just saved their life. So this is the position of Guru and the pure Vaishnavas. They see our tendency toward samsara, toward running headfirst into the jaws of death. And because they are the forms, the embodiments of the compassion and mercy of Krishna, how can they help themselves? Gurudev said, Guru is more than millions of mothers. So take the love of one mother and amplify that millions of times. Can we imagine the desperateness that Guru has to rescue us from that situation where we are running head first toward our death? What Guru would do, what any mother would do, what to speak of Guru. So in that case, is that shouting against affection? Is that tackling against affection? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Gita Govinda being sung in the most beautiful way, with the most beautiful tunes. He became completely absorbed hearing this Gita Govinda and completely forgetting himself that I am a sannyasi. He forgot everything. He began running toward the source of that with intent to embrace the source of whoever was singing that Gita Govinda so beautifully. His servant Govinda was running behind him screaming, no, no, no. But he couldn't hear him. So Govinda grabbed him and literally tackled him. What are you doing? Mahaprabhu woke up from his trance. What? He said, you were just running to embrace the source of that singing. But you are a sannyasi. Mahaprabhu said, thank you, you have saved my life. If I would have embraced her, I would have had to give up my own life. So he was thanking his servant. In the same way, not in the same way, but this is a beautiful example from Gaura's Leela. We've also seen how Arjuna ran after Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna made a vow, I will not take up any weapon. But Bhishma Dev was so powerful. He was shooting so many arrows so quickly, destroying thousands of warriors on their side, and even shooting at Krishna and Arjuna. So fast and so expertly. Krishna became upset at him, jumped off the chariot, grabbed a broken chariot wheel, and ran after Bhishma Dev to strike him with that weapon. At that time, Bhishma Dev became so happy. Krishna has broken his promise for me. He threw down his weapons and put his arms out. Come on! Like this, Krishna broke his promise, and he was running after Bhishma Dev with this chakra, this chariot wheel. Arjuna ran behind Krishna and grabbed Krishna. You may have seen this painting. He grabs Krishna and stops him. No, no! You made a vow that you will not take up any weapons. So Arjuna also had to maintain Krishna's honor in this case. That same chakra, when Krishna cast it away, ended up in a place known as Eka Chakra, which is the place where Sri Nityananda Prabhu manifested in this world. So, Sri Guru is also running after us, trying to stop us from entering this greatest danger. Now Krishna said even a little progress on this path of bhakti can save one from the greatest danger. Srila Prabhupada explains, what is this greatest danger? To enter back into the repetition, the cycle of repeated birth and death. So, Sri Guru Vaishnavas are seeing us in this condition, running head first, like a crazy, innocent, foolish, wild child, right to the highway of death. And they run after us, screaming, begging, sometimes tackling us to the ground, chastising us. Even in the process, we might feel a little bit hurt. But we should try to see from a more complete perspective. Have they done this for my benefit? Is this for my benefit? Is it helpful to me? Was I practicing the process of bhakti, or was I slipping? Am I gossiping about others? Am I creating problems for others by my gossip? Oh, right, I forgot. Vacho Vegam. Thank you for sharing with me. Yes, I have this tendency. Please remind me in the future. I have this tendency to say things about people. I have this tendency to criticize. Thank you for being a mirror to me and showing me this. And the pure Vaishnavas and Gurudev, they're trying to help us. It might seem like harshness, but anyone who sees from the full perspective, If you see someone save someone from imminent death, if in the process they get a little bit hurt, the person who's just about to die, just a little bit, a small thing, do you criticize the person who saved them? Or do you glorify them? Of course, we understand. It's not out of hate, it's not out of real anger. Anger may manifest, but it is out of the depth of affection. So we can also look at it from different perspectives. What is this situation? What am I supposed to learn from this situation? Everything is coming to me for a reason. If we're really trying to practice the path of bhakti, then we can also see that Tenukampam Sisumikshamano Bhunjana Evatma Kritam Vapakam Hridvagapurvir Vidadan Namaste Jivete Yo Mukti Pades Sadayabhak. Lord Brahma is praying to Krishna after he stole the calves and the cowherd boys, and then witnessed Krishna's supremacy, completely bewildering him. Then he offered so many prayers to Krishna. So there Lord Brahma is saying, Tattainu kampam susumikshamano, that whatever is coming to me, anything which brings happiness or suffering, this is due to my karma, but really I should understand it as the mercy of the Lord. It is some debt that has come to repay me. I have done something and now the result is coming. So I'm experiencing this for a reason. I have done something in the past, now it is coming to me. I cannot accept that I have done this in the past. Gurudev said, oh yes, you have. There is not one sin you have not committed millions of times in the past. Not one sin. We have done everything. Think about it. Trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of births in every species of life. Since time without beginning. Yeah, we've experienced all there is to experience. And the fact that we keep cycling the way we do, Prahlad Maharaj said, it is simply chewing that which we have already chewed before. We've done it. So what is coming to me? It is something that is due to me. It is something that I somehow deserve. It's not that I should be stupid, but I can understand that what has come to me for a reason. And then, Pridbhag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste. Accepting that this is something that is due to me. Accepting that it is actually a representation of Krishna's mercy on me. Krishna's giving me his mercy. All the while maintaining my focus by my mind, body, words, heart and soul, offering everything to Krishna, keeping that as my focus. Then Jivete Yo Mukti Pade Sadayava. Lord Brahma says that we have already earned our rightful place in the realm of mukti. We've already earned liberation if we maintain that kind of mood. I have done something which is bringing about the current reaction that I'm experiencing, either good or bad. It comes in the form of those things which make us feel happy or those things which make us suffer. The same experience for one might be a cause of happiness or suffering, depending for another. They did those tests where they put warm coins on the belly of babies. One cries, one laughs. Why? Why is there a difference in their interpretation of that experience? This is all related to karma. So, if I'm experiencing happiness, this is also from my karma, and it will come in due course, as it is meant to. Or if I'm experiencing suffering, that is also due to karma, and it will come in due course as it is supposed to. Krishna says, like the summer and winter seasons, and one should learn to tolerate these dualities without being disturbed. So, there's so many different ways we can look at it. If we find that something is pushing us away from the path of bhakti, then we may need to take a little step back. We might need to take a little step back so that at least we can maintain our inclination. Anukulyasya sankalpa. Of the 6 symptoms of Sharanagati, Anukulyasya sankalpa is the first. To make a firm resolution that I will accept in my life only those things which are favorable for my progress, my progress on the path of devotion. That's how our Gurudev recognized, if I'm too heavy on you, you will leave me in bhakti forever. So he was more gentle with us. But for others, according to their capacity, their impressions and their sukriti, they were able to handle more harsh chastisement. It means that he's able to pull out anarthas faster. And for us, he has to be a little bit more gentle. Maybe the injection hasn't yet fully taken its course so that he can go to work and perform his surgery. We're still a little bit awake to the material world. So the inoculation needs to be there so he can start to remove all of those anarthas, which are like cancers for us, holding us back from moving forward on the path of bhakti. Was there another question? So this subject of humility actually runs very, very deep. Humility is not something actually that we contrive or create from ourselves. Just like Shraddha, faith, is not something that we create from ourselves. It is actually the first particle of prem. The first particle of prem, which means it is of the divine nature. So therefore there is a distinguishment between ordinary faith or belief and something called paramartik shraddha, or transcendental faith. If you hear and read from all of our Guru Varga, all of our acharyas and shastras about humility, in the same way that faith is transcendentally awakened in our heart, it is a function of transcendence, it is of a divine origin. In the same way, the humility which is required for us to be able to progress is also transcendental and of a divine origin. So I started this discussion I started the discussion by mentioning that it is not the artificial thing that a lot of us do. Oh, I'm the most fallen. Someone said that to Prabhupada. Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I am the most fallen. Prabhupada responded, you are not the most anything. It being the most fallen makes one proud of being the most something. He said, you are not the most anything. In this connection, our Srila Gurudev said, you should know that you are like nothing. This is infinitesimal. You are just a particle, and that particle can be covered by Maya at every moment. Therefore, you require shelter. You require shelter of something divine, transcendental. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj says the same thing. It's printed on the back cover of his book, Sri Guru and His Grace. To err, to make mistakes, is human. That is the nature of this body and mind and intelligence, to make mistakes. Because we have this tendency to make mistakes, because we have imperfect senses, because we have the tendency to cheat others, and the tendency to come under illusion, then on our own strength we cannot ascertain or understand what is truth and what is not. Therefore we require help from outside of ourselves. We have not been able to unbind ourselves since time without beginning. We are trapped in the well with our hands tied behind our back, and our feet tied behind our back, and our feet tied to our hands behind our back. Anyone else who is similarly bound, Srila Prabhupada said, cannot untie you, and they also cannot untie themselves. Only one who is truly liberated, truly free, can unbind the bound. Only one who is truly free can unbind the bound. Does that make sense? It seems self-explanatory. So we are all in this bound situation. Baddha jiva, anadi karma pale, tori bhavan navajale. We have been bound since time without beginning, enjoying and especially suffering the results of our karmas. Wow. Oh, I didn't realize it went so far. We have been bound since time without beginning. So we require help from outside of ourselves. So it is up for us to understand, to determine what capacity we have. If someone's treatment is so harsh on us that it makes us want to run away from the path of bhakti, leave the association of devotees, to not want to have anything to do with the process of bhakti, then perhaps we might need to take a step back. It might not be favorable for us. So we should try to come to that place to accept what is favorable for our progress on the path of bhakti according to our capacity. And Sri Guru will understand our capacity. If Guru is actually Sri Guru, they will give us what we can handle. And they will try to give us a little bit extra. But they will understand. That is why the instructions of Guru are different for each individual. There's general instructions for all, and then there's individual instructions for the individual. And what Guru tells to one person is not necessarily the instruction that he gives for another. That's why Srila Prabhupada didn't want his letters published. Because somebody over here might be applying the instruction he gave over there to that person for themselves, but they might not be appropriately on the same level. Everyone is in their own subjective evolution of consciousness. And so it is essential, that is why it is so essential for us to always be under guidance. Bhakti constitutes being under guidance. When we are under guidance of true sadhus, real guru, then everything else will fall into place properly and automatically. So humility is a function of transcendence, seeing the greatness of those persons who are truly humble and aspiring to emulate their qualities and their nature. By being in the association of those persons and seeing their greatness and their simultaneous humility, then we will also be able to develop humility. Said Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupan Guru Varga ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Sorry, I didn't realize the time went by so fast.
She has a class at 8.
Yes, that's okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupana Guruvarga ki jai, Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Jai Purushottam Sachinanda Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinati Hari ki jai, Radha Ramana ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanande Hari. Thank you very much for being with us today. We look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Thank you for your beautiful questions and encouraging me to reflect upon humility, something which I would really like to develop. So thank you very much for that. And we look forward, did I say already, to see you all tomorrow again. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.